The Battle of Stalingrad. In the long annals of human history, there are many battles remembered for courage, for strategy, for victory or defeat. But there is only one name that carries the weight of absolute, unfiltered horror: Stalingrad. It is widely regarded as the single deadliest, most brutal battle ever fought by human beings. The casualty figures alone are almost meaningless because they are too vast for the human mind to truly comprehend. Well over 2 million killed, wounded, or captured. Entire armies vanished. Entire neighborhoods ceased to exist. But numbers are deceptive. They are clean, they are sterile, they reduce suffering to ink on a page. To understand Stalingrad, you must forget the statistics. You must descend into the ruins. You must walk through shattered streets where no street truly exists anymore. You must look into the hollow eyes of men and women pushed beyond exhaustion, beyond morality, beyond sanity itself. This was a place where civilization collapsed, where law, mercy, and restraint were stripped away, where survival became the only remaining instinct. Hunger drove men to the unthinkable. Fear erased compassion. Atrocity became routine. When the guns finally fell silent, over 90% of the city lay in ruins, a correction historians now agree on, rather than the often quoted but exaggerated 99%. Out of a pre-war civilian population of more than 500,000, only a few thousand were found alive in the rubble when the battle ended. Today, we're going to walk through this hell. We will witness the arrogance that led the German Sixth Army to destruction. We will feel the terror of the siege. We will see the iron will of the Soviet defenders. This is not just a battle analysis. This is a descent into the darkest chapter of World War II. Part 1. The Hubris. Case Blue. To understand the nightmare of Stalingrad, we must first understand how the world arrived at this precipice. The year is 1942. Nazi Germany appears unstoppable. Much of Europe has fallen. France is defeated. The Balkans are crushed. The Wehrmacht has driven deep into the Soviet Union. Yet one failure haunts Adolf Hitler: the failure to capture Moscow in the winter of 1941. That failure leaves Hitler restless, angry, and obsessed with delivering a decisive blow. In the summer of 1942, he launches Case Blue, Fall Blau. This is not a cautious operation. It is a massive strategic gamble. The objective is not Moscow. The objective is the South, specifically the oil fields of the Caucasus. Germany's war machine runs on fuel, and fuel is running out. Hitler believes that if he can seize the Caucasus oil fields and cut Soviet access to them, the Red Army will collapse. But there is also a second target: a city on the Volga River, Stalingrad. On paper, it is an industrial city, a transportation hub, a gateway controlling traffic on the Volga. But for Hitler, it is also something else. It carries Stalin's name. Capturing it would be a symbolic humiliation, a personal blow against his greatest enemy. That obsession would doom hundreds of thousands of men. Army Group South is split in two. Army Group A drives toward the Caucasus oil fields. Army Group B, led by Friedrich Paulus's Sixth Army and supported by Hermann Hoth's Fourth Panzer Army, advances toward Stalingrad. At the time, German confidence is absolute. Blitzkrieg has crushed every enemy it has faced. But by splitting their forces, the Germans commit a fatal error. They are chasing two massive objectives at once. On the other side, inside the Kremlin, Joseph Stalin understands the stakes. If Stalingrad falls, the Volga supply route is severed. The southern front collapses. The oil is lost. the war may be lost. Stalin responds with one of the most infamous orders in military history, Order number 227. Its message is brutally simple. Nishagu nazat, not one step back. Retreat is no longer a tactical option, it is a crime. Blocking detachments are placed behind the front lines. Their orders are explicit, to shoot any soldier who retreats without orders. The Soviet soldier is trapped between German fire in front of him and Soviet machine guns behind him. His choice is simple: fight or die. Part 2. The city burns. By late August 1942, German forces reach the outskirts of Stalingrad.
Inside the city, chaos reigns. Civilian evacuation is slow, confused, and incomplete. Tens of thousands of civilians, women, children, the elderly, are still there. Many are mobilized to dig trenches and anti-tank ditches. They are still digging when the sky turns black. On August 23, 1942, the Luftwaffe unleashes devastation. This is not precision bombing. It is annihilation. Wave after wave of bombers pound the city. Wooden houses ignite instantly. Firestorms rip through residential districts. Asphalt melts. Entire neighborhoods vanish in hours. Thousands of civilians die on the first day alone. Stalingrad is already a skeleton before the ground battle truly begins. When German armored units push into the northern suburbs, they expect quick victory. Instead, they encounter defiance. At the approaches near the Gumrak airfield, German tanks come under fire from anti-aircraft guns. When the Germans overrun the positions, they are stunned. The defenders are not veteran soldiers. They are young women, teenagers, volunteers of the 1077th Anti-Aircraft Regiment. They lower their anti-aircraft guns and fire directly at advancing tanks. While later Soviet accounts exaggerated the number of tanks destroyed, their resistance is very real and deadly. Most of them are killed, but they buy time, and they send a message: this will not be easy. By early September, German troops reach the Volga River, splitting Soviet defenses. Reinforcements cross the river under constant fire. Boats sink, soldiers drown, bodies float downstream. By November, Germany controls roughly 90% of the city. But the Soviets cling to the ruins. They refuse to let go. Part 3. Rattenkrieg, the War of the Rats. Blitzkrieg dies in Stalingrad. What replaces it is something far worse. The Germans call it Rattenkrieg, the War of the Rats. Front lines are no longer measured in miles. They are measured in feet, sometimes inches. A single apartment block becomes a fortress. One floor German, one floor Soviet, the basement contested by both. Grenades are tossed down stairwells, walls are blown open, holes are cut through ceilings. The main railway station changes hands more than a dozen times. The grain elevator holds out for days, its concrete walls shrugging off artillery, while a handful of Soviet soldiers fight to the last bullet. The Soviets adapt. They develop a tactic called hugging the enemy. They stay within 50 yards of German lines, neutralizing German artillery and air power. The fighting becomes primitive. Knives, shovels, bare hands. Men crawl through sewers filled with filth to emerge behind enemy lines. And above all, the snipers, hidden in rubble, motionless for hours. A single shot, a single death. Vasily Zaitsev becomes the most famous, with over 200 confirmed kills, but he is only one among many. The psychological terror is relentless. You cannot stand. You cannot smoke.
You cannot fetch water. Every movement may be your last. Part 4. The Trap. Operation Uranus. By mid-November, the Sixth Army is exhausted. They are staring at the Volga. They are not watching their flanks. Soviet commanders Zhukov and Vasilevsky have been preparing something enormous. The German flanks are held not by elite German troops, but by Romanian, Hungarian, and Italian units, poorly equipped and lacking anti-tank weapons. On November 19, 1942, the trap is sprung. Operation Uranus. Thousands of Soviet artillery guns roar to life. Then come the T-34s. The Axis flanks collapse almost immediately. Soviet armored columns do not drive into Stalingrad, they drive around it. On November 23rd, Soviet forces meet at Kalach. The encirclement closes. Nearly 300,000 Axis troops are trapped inside the Kessel, the cauldron. Paulus requests permission to break out. Hitler refuses. Goering promises air supply. It is impossible. The Sixth Army is not a fortress. It is a tomb. Part 5. Hell on Earth. Winter arrives. Temperatures fall to -30 degrees Celsius. There is no winter clothing. Hunger becomes absolute. Bread rations fall to almost nothing. Horses are eaten, then dogs, then rats. Leather belts are boiled for soup. Cannibalism occurs, not widespread, but real, documented, and desperate. Typhus spreads. Hospitals become slaughterhouses. Amputations without anesthesia. Men screaming until they lose their voices. Manstein's relief attempt fails. Hope dies. Part 6. The End and the Long Road Home. In January 1943, the Soviets crush the pocket. Hitler promotes Paulus to field marshal. Paulus does not commit suicide. On January 31, 1943, he surrenders. The battle ends on February 2nd. About 91,000 German soldiers go into captivity. Only around 5,000 ever return home. The last survivors come back in 1955. Stalingrad is the turning point of World War II. The Wehrmacht is broken. The road to Berlin begins here. Even today, the soil around Volgograd holds bones and rusted steel. Stalingrad remains a warning of ambition, of cruelty, and of how thin the line is between civilization and collapse.